don't forget to record.
Got it. Yep, you betcha.
I'm not going to.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm gonna go ahead, excuse me. Then I need a motion for the approval of the previous meetings, the March meeting
Yes.
minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Carissa. I'll make a motion to second it. Tony, I'll improve, excuse me. All in favor, say aye. Carissa says aye. I say aye. Derek says aye.
Yep.
So let it be carried. Now, after this, we're going to jump to item number 9 off the agenda. And that was done at Keith's request because I believe we're supposed to have somebody else here to talk about the community center status, which I had asked to be put on the agenda. And Keith, who was the person who was going to be here?
Yeah, Dan Neiman is the
I'm here.
architect. Yeah, he did the building condition project for us. And
Okay.
then I invited him to be present to answer any questions that we may have or to chime in where we may be off base, but
Okay.
yeah.
The reason I asked it to be put on the agenda, because the building is sitting up there. And now I know the building can be improved upon, which is fine for future use. But what concerns me in the interim, till we do something, is the surrounding area, the concrete steps going up to it, the concrete walls, and lack of lighting, I believe. I think it represents somewhat of a hazard. And so the question is, from a board standpoint, what are we gonna do? We either need to seal it off somehow, or put a fence around it to protect it from vandalism, and if nothing else, and to prevent any injuries on those premises. Because a lot of people go up on that hill, it's used. And so any ideas from the rest of the board members here, where are we gonna go with this thing?
Well, with the fence, I know they water the grass and so they mow the grass. So a fence would look unsightly after a while. And if it's just a temporary fence, I don't know. How are we liable if someone does get injured on those steps?
It's our property.
Yeah.
And we would be responsible for it. So if somebody were to go up there and the handwriting that's on the steps comes out and they fall down the steps, it's our liability. That's my interpretation of who's liable for what. I mean, it's our property. And it is a hazardous piece of property at the present time. Keith, have you given it any thought? I know we haven't really talked about it.
Yeah, I've given it some thought. I mean, there are definitely some things that if we wanted to retain the building, that there's some immediate things that we would have to do projects on to bring them back into a safe condition. And Tony, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, as you enter the complex, we have all those issues with the steps, the concrete, very unsafe. And then my other concern would be the structural supports down at the base of them. I think that they would have to be addressed. But the interior of the facility, from my perspective, and Dan can probably chime in there, I mean, it's still a usable facility, maybe not for all of its intended purposes, like meetings and those kinds of things, because of the lighting and then also the loud HVAC system. But we would have to invest some dollars in that in order to make that a safe facility.
Yeah, I understand that. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I know there's a lot of interest in, if you will, enhancing our recreational committee and
Yeah.
some of the things that the Forest Lakes does. And I think that building would play part in that, or play part of it.
I would agree. I think going back to the election, a small sample size, but a number of people, talked to me about, well, if this next go around with the new district office doesn't work out, could we renovate the community center for that kind of purpose? But you're right. A lot of the ideas we talked about, informally as a rec committee involve that structure. So I'm wondering, Dan said last time he was here, I think Dan said it was a pretty unique building in terms of the architecture and how it's laid out, how it's built. So I guess I'm kind of curious, just to do some upgrades to make it so it's not a huge liability. Then, I mean, if that's going to cost a lot of money, you may as well go the full 9 yards and do the whole structure and go that way. But I'm kind of curious to see how much just some simple upgrades to make it less of a liability issue, what that would look like.
So maybe what we can do is ask the person whose name I keep forgetting, and I apologize, but maybe we can take that analysis that was done and highlight the key elements that we would have to do in order for safety purposes. Because I remember the whole thing came to about $280,000, which is quite a bit. But maybe we can just take it, kind of dissect it and just take the pieces out to make it a safe environment.
Right, Tony, and just I've got it pulled up here, the estimated budgetary costs, and the number one item on there is the exterior concrete replacement, and we're already talking 50 grand just with that alone. And that was last year's cost. So this year, of course, that's going to be quite a bit more expensive. But Dan had recommended, 11 items on there. And Dan, if I remember right, did you have those in priority order? You may not remember how you set that up, but.
If you'll bear with me, I'll pull up the report here. But
okay.
First of all, don't feel bad about forgetting my name because my wife does that all the time. We've been married over 33 years. Okay.
Well, that's a bad one.
And then in speaking regarding liability, I'd say the biggest liability out there is the exterior concrete because they do present some tripping hazards, as well as it's kind of, it detracts from the beauty of the site, and the broken pieces of concrete and the stone that's falling off the retaining walls, vandals can have what they want with it. And I think if you're looking at doing some stuff with the site, I would, based on the cost of materials these days, I would look at maybe phasing the project and knocking down the most important, biggest liability issues, if you would, first. And that, in my report, I believe was the concrete work. Bear with me. I've got the folder open, and I'm trying to get to the document, if you will.
I apologize. I should have printed it up because I know I asked for this topic to be put on the table.
Here we go.
While Dan is doing that, I'll see who gets to it first. I can put it on my flash drive.
Yeah, well, I remember most of what's in there. And to me, the key element, I think is pretty much is what Dan is talking about, is the concrete. Because that slab out there is horrible. It's got to be totally replaced.
Are you
And
talking about the entrance slab or the stairs?
well, I think the stairs is part of it. To me, the stairs is part of the concrete, if I
I'm just
remember right.
If we start with the slab there at the front entrance, it kind of involves those beams coming down, which were rotting, I believe.
Yeah, but the beams are not in the concrete, if I remember. There's actually a dirt piece around the beams.
Is that, okay.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
separate.
The beams are supported on concrete footers, and those concrete footers were actually pretty sizable and pretty decent shape. It's the snow collecting around the base of those angled beams, if you will, that has deteriorated the wood itself. That would probably probably need replacement or something like that. But the concrete itself, as you can see, it's pretty cracked up. The steps themselves are kind of in bad shape, and then the site lighting themselves is is problematic in that it doesn't necessarily provide the amount of light coverage in the area leading to and from the parking areas, which, you know, those are safety concerns, and, you know, that's the liability that you guys would be facing.
Okay, then I got a suggestion, I think. There's a lot involved with this thing, but I think for the immediate liability risk, maybe we can ask Keith to put a request out there, some concrete pour people, to get us an actual concrete estimate to rip that concrete out and replace it. And that would be, to me, would take care of the immediate big item. And then the secondary part would be some of those rocks on those walls. Some of it's falling off and needs to be fixed. Just very similar to what we did at the main entrance. That would be the second piece to it later on. Derek, Chris, and you guys had,
I'm okay with that. I'd love to see maybe solar lights put into the walkways while they're concreting, you know. The steps going up has a wall on each side. Maybe we could get some solar lights to help with pointed down, keep that area dark enough, you know, because we've got wildlife living out there. But to help in the evenings, if we're going to start using it for meetings, as it gets, you know, darker later, to put maybe and use our solar that we've got abundance here, spotlighting on there.
oops.
So
Can you all see the
Can I-
screen?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We're talking about item number 1.
So if I can chime in on that a little bit, I've got some ideas that I'd like to throw out at you guys.
Sure.
Has anybody there heard of an organization called Four
I have not.
No?
So Four is a local nonprofit. They have their meetings over there at the La Plata Electric offices. They're not tied in with LPEA, but they work with LPEA. Colorado, Four stands for Four Corners. Oh, shoot, I can't remember what the acronym is, but they're basically a nonprofit that helps people with solar panels, rain barrel harvesting. Anyway, it might not be a bad idea for somebody to reach out to them. I know that they've done some collaboration projects for solar farms up in Pagosa, and they're pretty much really after providing renewable energy sources for different entities as well as individuals. And you might be able to, they might have some grant money that they could go after if they did a collaboration with Forest Lakes. And then I can see the solar, I think it's a great idea to use solar power for the site lighting. Anyway, that's one suggestion. Regarding the site lighting itself, area floodlights are great for the parking area. What seemed to be attractive and not a whole lot of light pollution coming off them are things that are called bollards. They are little posts that stand about 4 foot tall that you'll see them along walking paths in commercial businesses like restaurants and other things. And there's it's a way to create some ambiance, if you will, for the site without it looking kind of like industrial lighting, if you will, like on a parking lot.
But,
So
Dan,
there's
let me get your,
some options that you have there. I'd be willing to help you guys do some selection of some of that stuff. But I think really, budgets are issues, especially these days with the price of materials going up. And if you can reach out to some organizations that can provide you some assistance in the financing, I think then your dollar is going to go a lot further.
Dan, let me get your opinion on this, because my biggest thing is the whole site lighting issue came up when we were talking about using this as a meeting facility at night. So, so if we're not using this as a meeting facility at night, or I'm not sure if that is what the intent is, but if we're not using that, do we need to be that concerned about the area lighting? Other than what's
Agree, I
already
agree
there?
with that.
You know, what we might be able to do is rather than go in deep into the area lighting, because I do not think till we get the structure fixed up that moving meetings there it could be an option.
Yeah.
I think we started on the safety element, so I think that concrete is definitely something we gotta look into. And possibly we can stick some motion lights around the building, just in case people do come up to it in the evening that it lights it up, which would not be as expensive. That's something we could probably relatively handle easily, being we're only talking about one side.
Does that number 2 estimate include electrical work?
It would have to, because the pole lights, solar will not work at night, so keep that in mind. So solar sounds nice, but except solar only works when the sun's out.
Well, it's storing the energy.
Not necessarily, not unless you get a bunch of batteries to back up. Because I know a friend of mine across the street who has solar lighting for his house. Hey, when the sun goes down, so does that use. He draws power from the plotter because he does not have the battery bank.
Well,
There's cost involved with that.
just know those LED lights. They're pretty amazing. You know, I get
Oh, yeah.
approached by stadium lighting people all the time with my current job, and you know, 3 or 4 lights is a lot of light. And you're right, based on how they work and they shine straight down, there's little to no light pollution. So it wouldn't take much to light up that whole area.
Yeah, I totally agree with that part of it. Okay, so keep things moving, for the sake of keep things moving, let's go back to a very brief summary. Keith, please give us some concrete answers to number 1, which is really, I think, the key for the safety element. We got to do something about that concrete. And in the interim, maybe with Dan's help, we can reach out to this Four Corners nonprofit and see what kind of insight they may have as to what we're talking about. Which, like I said, there's nothing to lose on that one. So I know Carissa and I are, at least I don't think Carissa is employed. So between the 2 of us, we could probably reach out and set some meetings up or get some information about that one. And we could complete that.
I can get Four Corners contact information. I'll forward it over to Keith, and then you guys can do with it what you want.
We'd
You wanna reach
appreciate
out
that
to
very
them.
much. We appreciate that, sir.
So if I can ask a question, Tony, so is the intent what is the intent of the use of the building? So we're gonna fix the concrete. What's the intent of the use of the building?
Well, I think the building is too unique to scrap, personally. And I think pretty much the people I've talked to, that seems to be a common consensus. But it's also from a priority standpoint, when you look at some of the things that we have to do, we don't have the resources to do everything at one time.
Right.
So for right now, if we basically start protecting the liability, then start picking away at the structural pieces, then maybe eventually we will use it again for a meeting place when everything's done.
I think it'd be nice to have, I mean, again, I'm not sure if this list that's currently showing here is prioritized, but I think it's definitely have a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, you know, with some real intent. I think Keith's question is, so we do this and spend the money, what are we gonna use it for? I think we have to sell that to people who live here in Forest Lakes. So if it's gonna be used for recreational opportunities, for meetings, I think people would bite on that. So, but I think
Yes.
having a real clear plan, again, phased out, because I'm looking at these numbers and they're not small. So it's
No, I
gonna be
know.
a multi-year kind of process.
Hey, this is Jim. Has there ever been a vote by the board members to save the building? Or are we throwing good money at a building that you're going to do all the cement work and you're going to get in and start working on the building and go, oh, wow, who rehabbed this thing? We're never going to be able to get our money out of it. I mean, I've never heard a vote saying, let's keep the building and go over years. I mean, you're spending a lot of money when we have a lot of other infrastructure that needs to be taken care of. I'm not against it,
No, I
but
know.
I hate to see us putting money in the concrete and then we start working on a building and go, whoa, 3 years down the line, it's still not open and we've got all this money invested already.
Okay, so let's modify the comment I just made a little bit. I would still like to get updates on the concrete work. And maybe at the next meeting, we come up and have all members here. We can basically have a vote that we are going to try to keep the building and over time, bring it up to par, with the immediate issue being the liability and doing the concrete. And then we could do it and put that vote into place.
Oh, but in the meantime, because I mean, it's gonna be 30 days before we even discuss it again.
Right.
We put up that yellow tape at the bottom of the stairs, at the top of the stairs, the caution tape or cones or something, so we protect ourselves that way.
That probably won't hurt to wrap it up with yellow tape, basically say keep out.
Yeah.
Or something like that. That at least would be an effort on our part to keep people
Right.
out of there. No, that's minimal.
But I think Jim's point is valid. I mean, once we start pouring concrete, we're committed. So
Yeah, well,
I agree. Spending $50,000 on concrete to just have it torn down 3 years later is for the sake of not having the liability piece that doesn't
Yeah,
sit
but
well with me. But
we can get those actual price by the next meeting, hopefully. And then we can talk about the combination of the concrete and keeping the building. And we can
Right.
have an actual number what it's actually going to cost now.
Right, and Derek, so that was kind of the intent, and Tony, that was kind of the intent of my question is what the building was going to be used for. So if the approach here was to go ahead and just try to make that area safe around there, then the concrete, all of that concrete can be torn out and we can replace that with gravel.
That's one of the options that's one of the options when we think about it, when we talk about keeping the building or disposing of it.
Right,
Sure.
right. But then if it was going to be used, then maybe gravel all the way around it may not be the best option. I'm not totally sure, but then we also have to look at lighting depending upon whether or not the intent is that it was going to be used at night.
Yeah.
So.
Well, at least the topic is back on the surface, number one. I think we all agree that we do have an issue that we have to deal with. But being there's only 3 members here at the board, I think maybe everybody can kind of get some information, talk to neighbors, and get a feel for what people think. And let's get a price, at least on the concrete side, see what we were talking about. And as you get that estimate, maybe you can just have somebody says, hey, what would it cost just to rip the concrete out and put gravel in there? Maybe that we can still get an estimate for that and then decide from there, have it a full board, what we're going to do with it.
so quick history lesson for me. How long has that building been sitting there unoccupied or just not usable?
We haven't used it since COVID started. So that's about 1.5 years ago, give or take,
Okay.
in March.
All right.
That's when we stopped it.
So you were using it. Okay. Yeah. I'll just leave with this. I mean, it's a lot of money to put into that. And so if we're honest with ourselves and say that we're going to use this for meetings and that's it, that's a lot of investment for so little use. But
No, Derek, in the past, it was also used for community events, been used for private events. There used to be a church that was using it, I think, almost every week. So there's been use of it.
okay. Yeah.
Except right before the COVID hit, we knew we had some structural issues. Is when we had Dan do this analysis of the building. And of course, when that hit, okay, now we know what it would take to bring it up to par. And that whole issue kind of got shelved.
Yeah.
And seeing that COVID is going to fade into the future one of these days, I asked us to bring this topic back up because it's been sitting on the back burner now for almost 1.5 years. So I do think the board needs to come up and make a decision and get input from people around us. What do people think?
Mhm.
And I think the fact that Mandy kept talking about recreational activities and use of the building, that even prompted me to more so to bring it up. So if we get some facts in front of us, we can make a decision.
And we've had at least 2 requests from people to rent that building. And this is over the last couple of months now. So there is some interest out there. I don't know if they were residents or not, but they were talking about leasing out the building.
So let's see, there's other things coming into play here.
Yeah. So there's demand. That's good.
Yeah.
So I think if we put all the pieces in and kind of take a second look, maybe I'm gonna drag that spreadsheet back out. And we can talk some more about it next time. But I would love to see some updated numbers or options, especially when Keith brought up the gravel option. At least.
I'd like to, this Dan, I'd like to throw out another 2 cents, if you will, at you guys, based on what I'm hearing. First of all, as far as the use of the building is concerned, you know, there isn't anything that I would say is catastrophic in the structure right now that wouldn't allow you to occupy it for short meetings or things like that. As far as an amenity to the subdivision there, I mean, I think it's a beautiful building. I can see people wanting to use it for wedding receptions, any number of things that would be a benefit to the people that live in Forest Lakes. Regarding the concrete work and hearing, listening to you talk about removing concrete and replacing with gravel, you know, it might be worthwhile to put out an RFP to some landscape architects. You know, tearing out the concrete does not mean you have to replace all the concrete that you tore out. You could use specific locations for concrete work for, you know, where you might have receptions or people gathering. But the amount of concrete that's there, to me, is somewhat exorbitant. You don't really need to concrete everything that's currently under concrete. So maybe it's just a matter of redesigning how the site's being used and for the purposes that it can be used for, to minimize the amount of new concrete that goes back in there. And then maybe the rest of it is replaced with some gravel or some form of landscaping to help the site a little bit. And probably the best way to spend your money on that, I know how this sounds coming from an architect. I'm not a landscape architect, and I'm thinking that it might be beneficial to have somebody, a professional, take a look at the site itself and provide you guys with some ideas of what can be done, and then maybe you minimize you're not going to change necessarily your demolition cost there, but you might be able to minimize the actual replacement cost by not using so much concrete.
Can I ask your name, please?
My name is Dan Neiman.
Yeah.
That's
Oh.
the same guy. He's the one who did the
Okay.
report.
I
Yeah.
thought it was somebody else. I'm sorry.
No,
No,
he's disguising his voice.
My
Oh.
option thinking is, Keith, how much was the community room, meeting room gonna cost in the new office? Was it around $50,000?
80,000.
Yeah, it was around 80.
You know, I'm saying if we're going to spend money on the community center just to make a meeting room,
No. I don't think that's the objective at all.
Yeah.
No. Just for the meeting room, no. But I think if this building were brought out to safety, we could make multiple use out of it. And like Keith said, there's been some requests for uses also.
Hey,
Okay.
Dan, do you remember how many square feet the building is? I'm not sure if you can dig back to the bowels of the brain there. Because what I'm trying to figure out is, so to construct a new building equivalent to that size today, I mean, we're estimating, I think your estimate was 175,000 to do all the repairs. Do you remember what the square footage was, Dan, and what it would cost to rebuild that
so
same size?
what I've got here is under the existing building description is we have a main room of slightly over 1,200 square feet and a smaller open area of roughly 400 square feet. So I'm estimating that it's probably somewhere 1,600 to 1,800 square feet of interior space. And today's building costs are running anywhere between $300 to $350 a square foot is what I'm getting back from the
Yeah,
contractors that are working on my project. So you're well over $400,000 to rebuild.
yeah.
4 to 500.
We're at 630,000 at 350 bucks a square foot. So, you know, when you compare the cost to repair it versus the cost to rebuild it, then it's more economical to go ahead and make some repairs, some needed repairs to it.
But I love Dan's input
Okay.
about adding some more curb appeal and kind of modernizing a bit. You can actually save money that way. So there's some ways to, I think, cut costs, but make it even better. At least as far as curb appeal, perhaps.
Okay, guys. I think we pretty much got a very, very interesting topic that's gonna take us several meetings to come to a consensus on. So let's break the ice and at least have Keith get some updates on one. We have some different options. Dan's gonna give information on four cores, see what they can do. And then next month, when we have a full board, we can kind of break it up a little bit, I think maybe into two pieces. One is basically, do you want to keep it? Which I think should be one of the big topics to discuss. And if we do want to keep it, then we can start dissect what we do and when we do it.
Hey, just real quick. One
Yes.
last question for Dan. He mentioned, I think last time he spoke, like a total demolition price. Was that like cost? Was that like $30,000-$40,000 for just total demolition?
Um,
I think it
You
was
know,
more.
the concrete, the number, the country, excuse me, the cost of construction mostly has gone up in the price of wood and other finishes and things like that. Concrete, I know it's gone up some, but it hasn't gone up that significantly. So the numbers that I gave you from last year are probably still within 10 or 15% of what kind of numbers you would get today. Now, I can't guarantee you that because I haven't talked to anybody about demolition costs lately, but I would just from my experience would feel fairly comfortable that that number that you have from last year is probably maybe 10 to 15% lower than what you're going to see from numbers. But we probably won't know for sure until you actually get some bids on that.
Okay.
Hey,
That's
one-
good to know. It's good to know because I just want to be able to tell people, you know, to refurbish 175, to build brand new 600, to tear it down, here's this number. So just
Yeah.
give people kind of the full flow chart of just every option is helpful.
And Keith, and then not Keith, I'm sorry, Derek, one thing I don't know if you know it or not. The building originally was an indoor swimming pool, which is the 1,200 square foot area. And after it stopped being useful for marketing purposes, the swimming pool was filled up with concrete. So when you talk about the main floor, that's probably about 10 foot deep and all one big concrete slab. I don't know if you knew that part of it.
I did try to drill through that concrete and it was extremely hard. So yeah, I think I got about a quarter inch into the concrete after about a half an hour of drilling and a couple drill bits. So it's pretty hard concrete. I don't know that it goes to full depth of the pool. I think it would be silly to fill up the entire swimming pool with concrete. I hope they put some dirt in there and then maybe cap the dirt with concrete, but that's what I was trying to find out when I was drilling into it and I just couldn't get through it.
Oh, who knows? Maybe they buried Jimmy Hoffa there.
It could be, yeah, a few other people.
Hey, bring that topic up. We can get somebody else to spend the cost of digging it out. All right,
So if I could ask one more question, Tony, while we're still on the subject. So
of course.
in the meantime, the building, so we're going to go ahead and go ahead and tape off the building. We're not going to open it up for any use at all. It's still winterized right now as well. So
I'd leave that alone.
yeah, we'll go ahead and keep that winterized and not summarize it. So, and so if we get costs back, okay, I'll just wait till we get costs back and we'll just have to make decisions at that point. So,
Yeah, I think we're too small of a group at this point to make a decision. I just wanted to kind of drag it out of the closet, talk about it, and listen to different people ideas. Okay,
Good, thank you.
Everybody, all right, Dan, thank you very much for your input. We appreciate it. Looking forward to the information on the forecourt.
Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe you guys can work out something with them. I think it would be a good fit between the two of you. So I'll get you that information, get it over to Keith, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Okay, hey, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Dan.
Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. You have a good day.
You too.
Too.
I think it was a very worthwhile discussion. A lot of good ideas coming out of it. I think we just need to figure out where we're going to go. Okay, if there's no other question on the topic, I'll move forward to number 5, which is special business. On the budget committee, Carissa being you're the only member and Keith are, any information on that we need to talk about?
No.
No?
Nope, nothing from my side.
Recreational committee, Derek?
Yeah, so just some few initial thoughts here. Krista got a hold of Manny and I just from different ideas, and I think I hear a lot of people around Forest Lakes talking about how wonderful the whole lake area is. So well done to Keith and Jim and all you guys for just really beautifying that area. I think it's for a lot of people now that it's gotten some momentum. I think we want to keep that going as far as the lake area. Krista brought this up, and it was in the back of my mind too, some sort of floating dock or some kind of structure so people can get paddle boards and kayaks and things out onto the lake a lot easier. And just focusing on that lake area quite a bit. I think I'm still kind of up in the air too as far as other recreational ideas that might involve the community center. So trying to get different groups to come in and offer, all sorts of options as far as people coming down to the community center and utilizing that facility. I wouldn't mind bringing up the whole idea, the topic again of bringing the ski hill back. And there's probably some liability to that as far as having the tow rope and all those things. So there's probably a reason why it got shelved a long time ago. But I think people are really starting to flock to the lake. I think it's because of the great work that's been done already at the shelters and now the vault toilet going in. And so it's really become a destination for residents. And I think a destination for non-residents too, which is another issue we might have to deal with at some point. But
Right.
I think just kind of focusing on that lake area and see what we can do, just add some small amenities to it, because it really is a fun gathering place for
I
sure.
like your floating dock idea.
Yeah.
Is there a restriction to having motorized boats on there?
Yeah, no motorboats. I mean, the signs say no motorized watercraft. So if you got a canoe, if you got a paddleboard, kayak, that's fine. But I see people there quite a bit. And when that lake gets a bit low, that one spot in that very, I guess, northwest corner gets pretty muddy, and people are, trudging through it, and rocks and things like that. So just having a floating dock that you could just pull up in the fall and leave it there as it ices over would be a good idea.
But how about a 4-foot remote controlled gunboat?
Gunboat?
As long as
I have-
it's electric.
I have a 4-foot remote controlled gunboat
Oh, okay.
that is motorized with 2 engines.
Well, buy a battery, I guess. Yeah, there you go.
I do see trolling motors, but they're electric. They're
Yeah.
battery operated. They don't make any noise.
So
So the fishermen do have trolling motors.
yeah. And then, so one thing that came to mind, even when Krista sent that out, and I think Derek just brought it up a little bit too, is the liability. So definitely whatever we're considering, we're gonna have to run past the attorney, because if we do put docks out there and we're renting things out to people that they can use as watercraft, we just have to be mindful of that. And our attorney will have to take a look at it as well, so.
Keith, I would suggest that maybe we run it by the attorney, but the idea of the floating dock. I'm not talking about anything else, because I think with the floating dock, possibly we can get some local people involvement with helping do something like that and keeping an eye on it, and get the community involved with supporting doing that. So that would be a good one to get some legal advice on. Because we could, the floating dock, especially for a kayak or canoe, it's just a way to get off the shore into the water with some depth, I think is the big key for the floating dock. I'm not talking about a ramp or anything. I would not do that.
Well, you hit issues like, kids jumping off the dock in the water kinds of things. And there's no swimming. Those signs are posted too, but there's always kids who'll be out paddleboarding, fall off the paddleboard. And
Right.
so technically they're
Mhm.
swimming and oops, I fell in. So I know that it's not always an accident when kids go swimming in that lake. So that's worth talking about for sure.
So let's get some legal input. I think it's for all our sakes.
I think Mandy also brought up the idea of having the food trucks come in on certain days down at the parking lot for the community center. I just think we have some beautiful spaces out there. So it's a matter of just getting a few fine amenities and adding a few things. Nothing huge, but it's a beautiful area down there.
Mhm.
I think the food trucks is something I thought we were pursuing. Weren't you approached by that, Keith?
No, Mandy was gonna go ahead and pursue that.
Okay,
Yeah, we left that in her hands, and I mean, if I need to do anything on my end,
Okay.
I can, but
all right. Okay. Anything else on the recreational side, Derek?
No, that's it for now.
Personnel committee, me and Mark. It's just me. No comments. We don't have any personnel issues that I'm aware of, other than we lost an employee. Okay, public comments. I'm just gonna, I don't know if Keith's got it on his agenda or not, but I'm just gonna go through this. Everybody should be aware that Forest Lakes Wildfire Preparedness Day on Saturday, May the 1st. The ambassadors of the wildlife, basically my wife Ann, Julie Lynn, who's not available right now, and Charlie Landsman, have basically organized this event on May the 1st that we have volunteers who will pick up bagged pine cones, needles, and slash and take it up to the trash pile. I know Derek has been contacted by my wife to get some help. We have drivers. We need some assistance for the drivers to work this thing out, and we need some assistance to help offload at the trash pile. And I was just given a note that any teams that will make themselves available can get hold of either Lynn or my wife, or Julie or my wife. And they'll get $30 for that day, and they'll be refreshed and working with another individual. And there's information on the Forest Lakes website. There's information on the Upper Pine website. There's information on the bulletin boards over by the mill stop. So and I think Derek has already given my wife a couple of names that she's been talking to, I believe.
I was going to ask you if you have the names of the kids who painted the fire hydrants. I could just go to them directly here at school and just say, hey, another opportunity for you. So just call this number and they'll get you lined out. So if you want to just email me some of those names, I'll just talk to kids here in school.
right. And so I passed those on to Ann, and Ann actually touched base with the mom of the individuals, the Gosneys.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
and she volunteered, the mom volunteered the kids, and so Ann's got them lined up.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are two of
Good
the
mom.
guys I know.
Yeah.
We need more.
Okay. Yeah. If you have more names as far as the fire hydrant kids, let me know, and I'll just find them in the hallway and probably take care of it in no time.
So Derek, whatever you can do to help us out will be appreciated.
Sure.
Okay, and just people get word of mouth going that, hey, we will be doing this. There's gonna be a bunch of trucks running around, and probably a couple of us will probably be picking stuff up on Thursday and Friday before. And the concern with the unloading is very simple. When the pine cones and needles are bagged, we cannot leave them at the trash pile, at the splash pile in the bags. So we have to cut open the bags to dump them out. That's what the systems is on that side of it is. And I took a first load out a couple of days ago from my neighborhood, from 3 different spots. So that's all I have from the outside world. Public comments.
Yeah.
Back to the official side of the business. Keith, I think you're up.
Tony, I don't know, did we have any other public comments? I see Rod is on there, and I'm not sure if.
I don't know if it, well, I was not made aware of anything that nobody's knocked on any, doesn't look like it.
Okay, Yeah, he's not chiming in, so maybe he is.
All right,
This is
Go on.
Rod. How you doing? Can you
Hi,
guys
Rod.
hear me?
Go ahead.
oh, he was.
Are you
He
there,
is, he
Rod?
was. Oh, he was, then he's gone.
So guys, I just wanted to talk about Unit 3 for a moment, and talk about the benefits of, allowing permitting back in Unit 3. We've seen a lot of movement and people buying lots and wanting to build houses back there. And there's a lot of benefit and good to, doing so and allowing us build back there. And actually, I wanted to see that for you guys to see we are maintaining our roads, and just to see all the, I don't know how to word all of this, but trying to get permitting back there, it's been a real issue for us. But we've been doing a lot of road maintenance ourselves, a lot of fire mitigation ourselves, and just spending a lot of time back there. I'm seeing a lot of other people wanting to build, and I think the good thing about allowing people permitting the right way, it's because mainly we're having a better quality of people. What we've seen, people that without building permits, they just go back there and start squatting and putting random buildings up, and that's not what we want. And the good benefit also is that our tax money and revenue that Forest Lakes is getting from that, it's going to be higher. So the revenue is going to be better. There is basically a zero investment from as far as going the roads, spending any money on the roads or infrastructure. But what I would like to see is come up with a really good plan and structure to people that are wanting to live back there and build summer homes or primary homes back there, and and just work together to have to have all the roads basically work on a plan that it's going to be in benefit of the homeowners back there and also with Forest Lakes. That's all what I wanted to say about Unit 3. And
Hey guys, Courtney's here with Rod too. And just real quick, I want to add in a couple more benefits. Fire mitigation, that's a huge one. We were talking, and with improving the roads, from where they stood before, if there is a wildfire up there, the fire department will be able to get back there much quicker, which overall protects Forest Lakes as a whole. And the residents will see the fire probably before the people in Forest Lakes. And as well as fire mitigation. I mean, I know we've already started on our lot this week. We've got quite a bit done, just in a week. So if you think about a few people putting, just those first, kind of lots bordering Forest Lakes and in that area, with more fire mitigation, that's also protecting Forest Lakes as well. So really, there are quite a few benefits to allowing residents to build on their residential property that's actually zoned residential. Allowing people to build even summer residences, and Forest Lakes has zero cost. They don't have to lift a finger, and you guys collect more tax revenue, as well as a lot of fire mitigation. So we just kind of wanted to point those benefits out and kind of raise that topic back to top of mind and kind of work together, with the suggestions that Forest Lakes attorney made. I think that's a great plan.
Okay, guys, sorry, but your 5 minutes are up, so.
Okay, I just want to say we're very willing to work with everyone.
Understand, but
As much as
Keith has got a comment section in his overview. And the one thing I think people need to understand, Forest Lakes Metropolitan District has absolutely no bearing whatsoever or no influence on who builds where, what and where, except within the authorized subdivision. So you're talking about issues in the building out there. You're talking about San Juan Basin Health. You're talking about the La Plata County, and you're talking about Upper Pine Fire District, not us.
Absolutely. La Plata
Okay.
rely.
Thank you for your input.
Hello, can you hear? Hello,
Yeah, who's speaking, please?
Yes, ma'am.
hi there, this is Candace Mann. And I'd like to have just a couple minutes to just finish this up with what Rod and Courtney are both saying. We purchased 31 acres out there, and we wanted just to build one home, off the grid home. We've already enhanced the roads so much that even now, if a fire truck needed to get all the way out to the National Forest, they would be able to do it. And we did that on our nickel, and we're happy for anybody to use that road. We just want to build one small home. And Tony, I know you say that it has nothing to do with Forest Lakes Metro, but when we call planning and permitting and talk to them, they said Forest Lakes Metro will not allow us to give you a permit.
Well, that's a lie. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So,
I do want to say, Candace, that those roads that you have maintained and they're not correctly surveyed. Some of that was roughly put in those roads. If you look, you are cutting through some lots that are not.
Yeah, no, we did not change any of the roads. And the surveyor the company that stopped surveying, that's the company that we're working with. So the roads that we worked on were appropriate according to the surveyor. And some of the roads actually are not even there. We know that. But the roads that we're working on are.
but if I remember correctly, Candace, you are the one person that really brought in that local company and put some base out there, paved it all, and did everything to get to your section up there.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay, I'm familiar with that.
yeah, it's not finished.
No,
Winter.
but I agree. Your road is pretty much passable. But I'll also say this: Rod's Road, which I was on here a couple days ago, will shake your teeth out, and it's all mud. And if it gets wet, it's going to be slip and slide. But that's all irrelevant to what we're talking about. The comment he made is that Forest Lakes prohibits somebody from building up there. That's not true.
Okay, well, that's
What is true, but let me clarify that we have spoken with Forest Lake, with the county, and we agreed to support their no issue to permits. We support it, but we do not control the issue of the building permits. Hell, the county never even checks within our own subdivision if somebody starts building without a permit.
right. But interesting, because when we talk to them, they point the finger at you and say that it's you guys and that they won't do permitting because of you guys.
I had the same experience with the county. When I wanted to submit my plans and spoke with the county, Neil, he said that Forest Lakes won't allow any permitting back there. So you're telling us now that you never said that to them. So now
What we're not doing is permitting any infrastructure. We cannot support any water, sewer, roads to that area.
no.
Correct.
Correct.
That's what we want. We don't want any roads. We want to build a solar powered home.
We want to build a residence on the residential property that we purchased under the assumption we could build a residence on residential property. That's just.
We're
that's
going
all
to
it is.
provide, no one's asking Forest Lakes to provide power, water, or road maintenance. Everybody knew by buying back in Unit 3 that we're gonna maintain our own roads, bring our own water, and have our own solar.
Guys,
But
you need to be talking to the county, guys.
the
Yeah.
county's telling us,
Yep, that's what they told us too.
Keith, why don't you sink in? You had the last conversation with Neil at the county.
Yeah,
And
so, yeah,
They
I was,
told you they were not issuing permits, right?
right, but let me back up, because in Rod and Candace's defense, when this whole issue started heating up with the county, and prior to my arrival, it was the district that had huge influence on whether the district or whether the county was going to issue any permits. So that is still out there. They are correct. And even now, the county is looking at us to provide input on whether or not we support building permits being issued out there.
That's not our decision.
It's not our
We don't-
decision, but we have input into it.
It's not our decision to issue building permits, period. Never has been.
Right. But
so
yeah, but I think Tony, where we're at right now, and I do have a little discussion as part of the manager's report as well, but I know I threw this out to the board before, and so did the attorney, is looking at certain conditions that people would sign as an acknowledgement that there will be no public infrastructure that is provided, and that there are certain expectations that the residents up there would have to agree to before building permits would be issued.
Well, then they need to reach an agreement with the county.
No,
Then
they
who's,
need-
what
to
gets me, okay, what gets me is this. We have Rod and we have Candace that have pretty much laid out what their intentions are, which is great. That's two people of the probably 100 or so that own property out there. Then you got another person out there who lives in a shack, has been doing that for years, but God knows what. Then you got
the
somebody else.
RV guy.
There's somebody else out there that put up a watershed. Then we got this guy from New Mexico that went out there with a bulldozer and bulldozed and had a nice bonfire going up there. What potentially is going to happen up there is totally unknown. And two people are not going to control what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think the county is the one that needs to control what happens up there.
Yeah.
Not us.
We can see your point, both of you. But what I see from other people are the guy with the big RV sitting on an angle, no proper sewage system for his lot, and everyone else. We have to look at protecting Forest Lakes.
But here's the thing.
As board members.
Here's the thing, if you do allow people like us who are trying to do it legally and trying to permit, if you let us type people start building our little homes and things like that, we're not going to allow all of those other people out there who are living in a shack, as you say, or whatever. So it seems like it would benefit you guys to have people living out there legally as opposed to not.
That camper of the guy that's building his little hut up on the edge of his zone, again, I'm not good with the roads, the names. The road that you are on, he's got his trailer there. It's been there at least 2 years. He's slowly building that a little house that you can see from the other upper road. So he's on the back of, very back of his property. Then you go further down your road right before you get to the National Forest, and that huge RV that's sitting there that sat crooked for weeks because he couldn't tow himself up. That's what you're going to get.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what we're not going to get if you allow us to legally build.
And
If
if we have no power over that, how are you going to have power over that?
By being there and being neighbors and showing people that you can build something there. Maybe if you had allowed them, and I know you're saying it wasn't you, but honestly, the county says it is you, But if you had allowed for people to permit and build something, a nice little tiny home on their property up there, maybe they wouldn't be living in shacks.
It's a county involvement, and by doing so, you build per code and you put in a septic system. Everything it's tie in, everything's gonna be done just exactly how you do it on all the other units here in Forest Lakes. Now, if we're talking about limiting people or having.
We have people in Forest Lakes that have put up shacks that we had a heck of a time
I mean,
clearing up.
we
We
just
got
have
one going on right now, and we've had one in the past. And we enforce that, and we have the ability to enforce it. So
Right.
guys, we can sit here and beat this horse for the next 10 hours, and we're not gonna move any ground. You need to
So-
talk to Neil over at the county. I mean,
Okay, rights to you, Tony. Are you going to tell him that you have no input?
we have no input over them issuing permits. And
Okay.
uh,
Well, thank
and,
you. Awesome then. We'll just work with them.
you have to work with them.
Yeah, no, I know. We want to work with them. We want to work with everybody. We're not trying to go against you. We're trying to build a house just like you live in a nice house. We're not trying to build a shack. And we bought property that's residential property. It said on your website you weren't going to put in any infrastructure. We knew that 100%, but it never said anywhere that you were going to try to block us from building our own primary home. That's what's not fair.
Well, I cannot explain the statement that was made, except for Keith said it was made at some time, which is very possible. But that's not what's in our infrastructure. That's not what's in our rules. And it's not within the district's filings.
Okay, well,
So,
That-
so,
that.
so would you, so if you had this from Neil's from the county, could you please reach back to Neil and say it's up to them and you're not against us building back there because you're the primary input for them to tell us no.
No, they're their own input.
Keith, can
That's
I,
what the county told
Okay.
us.
Keith, can I basically refer to your Unit 3 comment that you can skip out when we get to it? It basically says, however, I think your closing statement in here says, you send an email over to the county to determine whether or not to aim go to discussing the condition. So,
We need to talk about it. We can't be shoved under the rug anymore.
Keith, that is the last comment Keith sent to the county. I'm assuming you have had no response from the county?
No, I haven't had a response from the county yet to find out if they would be open to that.
Okay,
But-
so I think, let's wait for that answer. And if the county comes back, then we'll leave it up to you to talk to the county.
Well, no, Tony, it's not that easy because the county is also going to look for input from us.
Well, they can have the input that we have no input. We don't have any
No.
control over it.
No, so if we support the conditions that our attorney recommended to the board months back, then the county needs to hear that from us. And
Our
they would
attorney
be
does
open
not
to
work
it.
for the, our attorney does not work for the county.
No, our attorney works for us.
Thank you.
Right.
Now the county, it's their job. Whatever they do, how they do it.
So I guess the question is our board willing to go forth with conditions to the county to say that if these conditions are met, are we in support of building permits being issued?
What conditions? People keep talking about conditions. What conditions? We have no conditions.
We don't presently have conditions, but they're the conditions that our attorney brought up to us months back.
March 9th, we voted to not support building permits. We're
Right.
not saying we're not giving building permits out. We voted and it was
Right.
passed as a board. And I
Right,
wrote
and
it
that was
down
you,
here,
that-
not supporting building permits.
okay, so that's our position, but that doesn't stop the county from doing what they want to do.
Right.
It is stopping the county. And why would you do that in March? What you said? Why
For
did
all
you?
for all the reasons we just explained to you. Those reasons haven't changed.
I didn't hear it. Because
Candace, you can go on the website and look at the March 9th minutes. Jamie does a
Well,
beautiful
I-
job of,
They're
we
there.
discussed this very in detail March 9th. And on the website, there are our minutes.
They're not
No.
posted for March. I just looked right before
Oh.
the meeting.
Do we have to approve them first?
Been posted.
They're not posted. Okay, but they are available. They will be available soon, right, Jamie?
Yes.
This conversation, unless Keith has anything else to say, which is, greatly appreciated, is that Tony is saying, we've got no input and you have to work with the county. And since these minutes are public, we'll just grab those minutes from the website when they're posted and we'll bring those to the county. As of now, unless something changes, hopefully, once Tony can revisit the attorney conditions that I think you forgot were presented. So we'll just bring those to the county and then we'll kind of go from there, is my take.
You can see our discussion for March 9th.
No, today's minutes. I'm saying today's minutes where Tony stated, we have no input on whether the county issues building permits. It's got nothing to do with us. You work with the county. I guess unless something changes and Tony remembers the letter from his attorney that he forgot about somehow, we can just take minutes and bring them to the county and present those to the county because the board has no say, is what Tony's saying. So, I mean, I guess that works in our favor. So we'll just.
Okay, guys, enough of this. I'm sorry, but we're getting way out of hand and we're getting out of bounds. So
That's okay.
Courtney and Candace, thank you both for your input. You will get the minutes of this meeting. And we're gonna move on to another topic.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Have a good day.
All right, Keith, the manager's report, and please skip number 13. I think we pretty much beat that horse up already.
Okay, so on, first item has to do with our offices being reopened to the public. So we reopened on March 30th. And so we have some stipulations on the reopening of the offices. So we're asking that folks wear masks as they enter the lobby. And we're hoping that we don't get more than any more than 2 people in the lobby at one time. So also, as we start the transition to our new government accounting software, Cassell, we've got several storage files that we're going to be sorting through in anticipation of the move this fall. And we've got, we're reviewing and implementing many aspects of our capital improvements program. So we're trying to, right now, balance staff focus time and having our office available to the residents. So with that being said, we implemented public walk-in hours last week, and they're Monday through Friday from 10 to 12 and from 1 to 3:30. So our office doors are going to be locked outside of those designated public walk-in hours. So we ask the residents to please note that we'll still answer phones during those hours and residents can still drop off payments to our Dropbox. And the other goal here is that once we have moved to the new building to the subdivision later this fall, that those public walk-in hours are going to be well rehearsed by that point, because we know once we're closer in the subdivision that we are going to get inundated by folks. So we just need to try to keep in mind we're trying to balance that staff time while staying open for the residents. So the next item has to do with subdivision roads, spring maintenance. So we're receiving phone calls about the condition of some of the roads in the subdivision to include potholes, washboarding, and those types of things. So I just want folks to know that we're aware of it. And with spring upon us and the hardening of the driving surfaces, we're starting to do the work on repairing the roads, which will include removing the washboarding and potholes. And we're going to be applying LIG for dust control. So another good thing is that our vibratory roller that we're renting is here, and folks may have seen that out on the roads. So
It is sexy. It is a sexy machine.
Oh, yeah. So we do have road work ahead whenever we're working in segments of the roads. We have road work ahead signs. letting folks know that that machines are operating. And we're also, Tyler's doing a great job. Tyler and Jim are doing a great job of posting on the website where our crews are going to be working. So as we progress through the summer, you'll see our equipment out and we'll be getting the roads back to tip-top shape. So recycling program in Forest Lakes. So we've had a few additional conversations with Mr. Whitehead from TDL. And he would like to be on the agenda at the May 11th board meeting. So there are potential benefits to a recycling program in Forest Lakes, additional revenue, less dollars spent on dumpsters, caring for the environment, all those different types of things. But there are several details that we would still have to work out. The logistical items such as setting up bins, monitoring bins, coordination of emptying bins, snow removal around the bins, etc., all potentially have to be worked out. And the programmatic issues such as determining the body responsible for managing the billing is one. If the district, with the establishments of rates, we're going to have to, through the public process, establish rates. And then how we're going to charge folks for doing all of that. So I had two questions in here that I'll just pose now, but we can probably pose them again when we have a full board. So the first question has to do, does the board see value in having a recycling program in Forest Lakes? And then the second one is from a policy standpoint, does the board want me, this office, to pursue this initiative? So I lay those two questions out for the board. And I'm not looking for an answer now until we get a full board, but I'm going to need some direction on how the board would like me to proceed with this.
I really want from, I'm sorry, what's TDL's?
TDK. TDL.
TDL, yeah, it's the recycling
TDL.
company.
Numbers, I couldn't believe how many people he had signed up from Forest Lakes. It just didn't make sense to me, percent wise.
Oh,
So
he backed off those numbers. They were wrong.
That's correct. He did. He backed off on that.
He did. Okay.
Yeah.
I think really from a common perspective, I think the majority of the board would agree, most people on the Hill would agree, recycling is good, number one. The problem I have with his recycling process is what he wants. I mean, the cans got to be cleaned, the plastic's got to be, labels got to be removed. He will not accept white glass. He only wants green glass. I mean, he put so many restrictions on it that made this program, in my mind, very unusable. And that's my interface with TDL. The other thing I think we would want to keep, the board would probably have to rule on, I do not think we would want the Metro District to be all encompassing, saying that, hey, the TDL's recycling is part of our service package, if you will,
Right.
and that the office is going to do the collections for it. I do not think we want to go there. Primarily because of what I just said about TDL and how he operates. So I think when TDL comes up, I think the more information we get about his program, the pieces I just mentioned, make sure that those are still correct, because that's the last thing I heard. So maybe he's changed his ways. Maybe now he will take glass. I mean, we used to recycle glass and paper over by City Market North for many years.
Yeah.
And we saved it up. Once we go into town, we load the back of the vehicle up, took it over there and dumped it, and it worked just fine.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what TDL's agreement with the city of Bayfield is, but my understanding is everybody gets bills for that service on their bill from the town of Bayfield. To the best of my understanding, it's not an optional deal.
Right.
And I do not, if we're going to want to go beyond what I suggested, maybe we ought to find out what is that deal he made with him. Because he's actually picking it up, which we can't do over here. We can't have, God, 700 containers sitting on the road every day. It's just not going to work.
The bottom line for everybody, the bottom line for everybody is the bottom line. How much is it going to cost? And can they get it done cheaper by dumping it in Durango?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, our garbage, I think the last thing I looked, when we do the garbage for the Metro, I think it's only what, $12 a month? Keith, I think,
Right.
and he wants the same amount to do the recycling.
Well, he asked that we add that to the bill. And so then everyone would get charged. And that's really the only way to kind of regulate who's using the bins is, to have some centralized system of charging people. But I see that as a real issue with feeding that down the throats of all the residents that may not care anything about recycling. So
I think a few things here. I think Keith's right. I don't think you browbeat people into recycling. That's not going to work. My second concern is, I'm a huge proponent of recycling, but I think I go back to the issues that Jim and his crew are having just with the garbage receptacles and people dumping things they shouldn't be doing and being downright harassed for it. I'm not sure I want to put one more thing on Jim's and his crew's plate as far as telling somebody, hey, wash that. Of course, that would be TDL's issue. I get that, but I see a lot of hangups with this. That just aren't really coming together the way I'd like it to. So that's my 2 cents. But I think all 5 board members have a chance to chime in.
Yeah.
Well, maybe next month, Keith, can we put this on the agenda next month under unfinished business? So we can have a basic vote and talk about if we want to support it and how we're going to support it. And we can talk with everybody here and just take a vote on it once and for all.
Can we
Right.
just poll the people we have at the meeting here, Jill, Robin, G, Rick, the phone call, how you can go to the chat section on the bottom there and give us your ideas just to we can get, a handful of people giving us ideas. We know what a problem it is for some people not wanting to pay the $2 for the mailbox. And anytime you raise rates, which might happen for other things, you're going to have people complaining. Like Derek said, we can't throw, or Keith said, we can't throw it down their necks, whether they want to use it or not, the restrictions on that. But again, it's the cost. It's the cost for me. I can't justify $12 a month saving the environment. And yes, it is a good idea that we will have less dumpster usage.
Right.
Where I lived before, I had 3 times as much, maybe 4 times as much recycling that I did garbage, probably more. So I was used to doing that. But I know the problems the board has had in the past of the nickel and diming, and $12 is a lot to add to our bill.
Chris, I agree, but I think the bigger issue is somewhat what Derek was referring to, is if you do put it on the bill, he still wants it segregated. He wants it separated. And who's going to monitor that? We don't have the resources to monitor that.
You're saying accounting wise. The accounting.
No, not the accounting. The fact that, hey, plastic can only be number 5, 6, or 7.
I got you.
Glass can only be white, cannot include white. All the labels have to be removed from the cans.
Okay.
But we're not in a position to regulate that. Hell, we can't even regulate people dropping furniture off the dumps.
Right. We can't.
So I don't think this thing has got a good place to go, the way I see it right now. But I think if we bring it up next month as old business, get the whole board here and basically take a vote on those things, we can kick these things around again with all 5 of us here. And any feedback that any resident has, basically, hey, I want recycling no matter what, or I want recycling but not like this, or hey, I'm not going to pay any more on my damn bill. I'm not going to double my garbage bill just so we can get recycling, which is basically what it looks like. So any feedback like that, I think any of our board members will be highly appreciated.
Yes.
Robin, Jamie, Barb, Jim. I don't know whose G's iPad is. That's
Yeah.
okay.
So am I inviting Mr. Whitehead to, because he requested to be on the agenda for next month?
I think I would suggest to him that we're gonna have a vote on whether or not we want to pursue this next month. That he hold off till after we vote on it. And if we vote to go ahead and try to put this together, then I think we're gonna have to listen to him again.
He's already, presented his part and what he can do. Again, I want numbers so we can say to our neighbors, what do you think? And they'll say to me, no, it only costs $5 at Durango, and I go into town anyway. Or, no, that's a great deal. I'll do that.
I think his number, Keith, wasn't his number $12?
It was.
Okay,
Yes.
his number's
And
12. We already know that.
He's
His number is
sticking to
$12.
that for every resident, $12.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what he wanted.
Okay, there's Robin. She's against doubling the money.
you.
Oh, she lost. I lost her.
Thank you, Robin. One feedback.
Yeah, especially with the rules that come with it.
Yeah,
Thank you. Does everyone know how to use the chat down below? Roll your mouse.
if not, call
Yes,
Robin. She
Jack.
knows how to use it.
Thank you, Robin.
All right, Keith.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so the next item has to do with Mr. Zabinski's claim against the district for $1 million. So on March 18th, we received official notification that they're closing the file on this because they haven't received any additional appeals from Mr. Zabinski. Now, it's not to say that he can't resurface at some point in the future, but as more time goes on, the judge is less likely to entertain that appeal. So for now, it's closed, and if we hear from Mr. Zabinski again, we'll just re-engage our counsel.
Good.
So the pressure reducing station projects at Forest Lakes Drive and River Ranch. So our initial plan was to replace our two of the PRSs with 6-inch lines and everything to match existing. So as everyone heard at the CIP briefing that San Juan Engineering presented, they recommended going with 8-inch lines and placing them in actually different locations. So we're going to follow that and use some of the dollars that we had budgeted for those two capital projects to get a proposal from San Juan Engineering to design them this year for possible execution in 2022. So as we progress with this whole infrastructure bill and any potential infrastructure funding that comes up in the future, it's going to be important that the district posture ourselves with projects that are already 100% designed and sitting and waiting on the shelf. So we're going to move in that direction on these two PRS projects. So tree pruning and removal services within the rights of way. So Southwest Sawyers was here on April 2nd, and they removed 3 trees at Lake Simpatico, where we have actually placed the vault toilet. So they're going to be back on May 3rd to start removing trees out of our right of way for the 2021 season. And so we have already started placing orange ribbons on the trees, and we ask again that residents do not remove those markers. So this year's budget is also 15 grand. So folks need to know that we're not the only ones out there cutting trees. So LPEA is back again this year, doing some trimming and removing of trees that are impacting their utility. So parks multi-year upgrades, year 2. So year 2 is upon us, and we've ordered equipment for both parks at Meadowbrook and the community center, and benches, trash receptacles, and the permanent vault toilet at Lake Simpatico. So a lot of that equipment is in, and we're going to start with the replacement of that equipment this summer. So folks will see more things going on out there. So property taxes, initial distribution. So we've received $329,000 in March. So, and also with that distribution of funding, we transferred $50K from the operational budget back to Colorado Trust. And as you recall, we needed that in February to make payroll. So that has been transferred back to Colorado Trust. So our equipment operators position, we currently have the vacant equipment operators position that we're advertising for. And we're advertising it on our website and also through the website Indeed. And we're getting some pretty good inputs, I think, and resumes that folks have been submitting. So hopefully that will pan out for us and we can get someone hired. So the small improvement district program, quote unquote, for water, that's for water and sewer mainline extensions along Spruce Way and Pine Top Drive. So at February's board meeting, Rick Phelps from RT Construction suggested that we contact residents to determine whether they would be interested in prepaying their water tap and sewer tap so the district could extend the utilities. So we sent letters out to all the lot owners on Spruce Way and Pine Top, informing them of the plan, and we requested their feedback by March 10th. So we're pretty happy to say that we generated enough funding between the funds the district had already allocated for the project and the funds that Rick Phelps Construction and Rick Brydom and Jill Sutton and Nathan L. provided. So special acknowledgement goes out to Rick Brydom and Jill Sutton because they contributed extra funds to help make this project happen this summer. And we're already starting to get parts in. We're just waiting on a sewer line. And we have some manholes that we're going to order. And the plan is to start that project on May 3rd for the main line extension along Spruce Way and Pine Top Drive. So the Small Improvement District Program Phase 2, and this is for Snowbird Court. So given the incredible response we received from the test case at Spruce Way and Pine Top, we expanded this program for the needed mainline extensions along Snowbird Court, which is just to the south of Pine Top Drive and Spruce Way. And the total estimated cost of this project is about 95 grand. So we mailed letters out on March 31st and requested response letters by April 23rd. And so we received letters from, and it's actually, from 4 residents, but total responses from 5, and that they're willing to prepay their water tap fees. So again, this is a project that we would, if we get ample funding, this is next year's mainline extension project. And I feel pretty confident that we're going to receive enough response from 4 more residents or 3 more residents in order to make this happen. So I'll skip number 10. That's the community/disposal day, which is May 1st. Tony's already hit that. Parcel box installations. So we have approximately 12 parcel boxes at the mail stop that are part of the total mail/parcel box pods that are broken and replacement doors cannot be located. So we're going to permanently seal them, and we just purchased 2 new parcel box pods with 8 boxes that we're going to place just to the right of the library kiosk at the mail stop. So they should be in here in the next few weeks, and then we'll get those installed this summer as well. So the new office construction in the subdivision, there's a status on that. The construction checking account has been opened through First Southwest Bank, and will actually close on the loan on April 23rd. So Tony, when I get more information about that from the bank, I'll let you know because you'll be the signer on those closing docs.
Gotcha.
So in the meantime, Hodder Construction submitted the construction plans to La Plata County, and we're waiting receipt of the building permit. So we're 2 weeks into about what we're told it could be an 8-week process for receiving the building permit. So La Plata County is backed up right now. So we're going to hold off on ordering any materials until we get some sort of assurance that the permit will be issued, or hopefully we'll get the permit. So we had a check issued for draw number 1, which was the deposit for Martin Hodder to start ordering materials. We're holding that now. We're not going to issue that to him. Black Hills Energy provided us with a builder's information packet where we will submit the service requests once the foundation is in. So CenturyLink, I actually got a hold of CenturyLink today, finally was able to get a hold of someone, and I'm meeting with their representative to talk about our requirements this week. And of course, the LPEA power is already to the pedestal over there. So And I've attached the spreadsheet so everyone can see what the update is on all of the tasks that we have going on. So number 13 had, that was unit 3, we'll skip that. Audit of the 2020 financials, that started on March 1st, and we're emailing the audit team, multitude of documents, and Jamie is a lead on that, doing a great job. But this has taken up a huge amount of her time, but we'll get through it. So water tank recoating projects. So our contractor completed the interior recoating of the Pine Ridge tank, and that tank is now back in commission. He was to coat the interior of the Green Ridge tank until we determined that the structural soundness of the floor was suspect because it appears that the material under the tank has been undermined. So we'll be meeting with a company that can shotcrete it or put liquid concrete under the tank and to see if this is a viable option for us. For now, our contractor has moved to the interior coating of the East Pine Top tank, and he should be done with that tank, I believe, this week. And then he's going to return this summer to paint the exterior of both the Pine Ridge tank and the East Pine Top tank. So we're getting our tanks back in action. And in the manager's report, which is also online, I've got some interior photos showing what the contractor has been up to. Wastewater treatment plant discharge permit, nothing from CDPHE. So our new 2021 John Deere lease on our grader. So the lease of our existing grader expires in June 2021. And we reached out to Hanan on another 24-month lease. They provided us with a proposal that is very similar to the existing lease agreement. And they have already fielded our questions. And all of this information is contained in the resolution 2020-07, which is for the board's review and approval. So flatbed replacement of this truck was our number 4 priority on our equipment and vehicle replacement master plan. And it was identified and approved in our 2021 budget. So Jim sought bids from 6 different dealerships, and Morehart Murphy provided the best value for the vehicle. So Morehart Murphy was on average $17,000 less than the other 5 dealerships. So we have a plow that we still have to put on the truck and the flatbed, and that's going to be about another 12 grand. And with all of this combined, we're still going to be under the approved budget amount in the budget that the board approved. So our CIP improvements master plan. So the board was briefed on the plan on April 7th. And now I sent an email off to Chris Brandery from USDA to figure out what the next step is going to be in the rate study, because that was the key piece we were waiting for to figure out where we're going to go next with the rate study. So I haven't heard back from him, but I'll let the board know as soon as I do. And that's the last item I have on the manager's report.
Okay, I got one question on the capital improvement one.
Yes.
The one that really kind of rung my bell, if you will, was the sewer and the infiltration in the sewer system of outside water sources.
Yeah.
Ironically, I was looking at the website for Bayfield the other day and looked at the town manager's comments, and lo and behold, they also have infiltration problems where they went over their capacity a couple of times during the year.
Yes.
So they have the same issue.
Yeah.
To me, that would indicate in order to control our sewer permit parameters, if you will, we need to make a priority out of finding the infiltration source, which I think is probably coming through manhole covers that leak or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to give you an update on that, Tony. Yeah. So Southwest Systems, we contracted with them, and we are now moving into our 3rd year where they come out every year and they put cameras down our lines to identify any leakage. And they also identify any manholes that we need to have relined. So the first year, we spent about 19 grand in the summer. Last year, we had a budget of 21 grand. And this year, we also have another budget cycle of another 21 grand. So we have them coming out every year to look at and get as much of our wastewater distribution system done as possible. So we're on it and into our third year.
Okay, do you think we need to increase that funding for that particular piece?
It would be great if we could, no doubt.
I mean, we
but-
can sit there, if you look into it and give us some ideas of the possibly, that if we throw another, hypothetically, another 35,000 against it, which will speed us up and to help us prevent from hitting those or exceeding those limits.
Mhm.
That's something the board can approve to modify the budget on. So not only, I'm bringing this up basically because there's 35 grand we could save to keep from hitting triggers that we don't have to explain to the state, and hopefully extend the long-term possibility of when things really come up with hit us in the face.
Yeah.
And I'd be more in building.
The
Nothing
way
most
I
important.
the way I understood it when he talked about it, they really don't know where those leaks are. He says
No.
they could be 1,000 tiny leaks.
I know that we gotta find them, but the problem is we're only spending 21,000. If we spent another 40,000, would that mean we're gonna find it sooner and fix them faster? Because the flip side, we know what the flip side is.
Yeah.
Just a suggestion, if timing and resources allow us to be able to having them come in and do it, they're capable of doing it, then I think it's a recommendation would be, hey, let's put a meeting, let's put a motion in front of the board to spend 40 more grand in addition to the budget that we already have. And then we can do it because we do have the cash, so let's.
Well, Keith just saved us 17,000 on the Moorhart Murphy deal, so.
Hey, don't bring that up.
No.
Oh, he's got that plan for something else.
Yeah, put a plow on the flatbed.
No, but Carissa, you bring up a good point. I mean, there is, and Tony too, I mean, that could get us there. We need to talk to Southwest Systems and the logistics of the whole thing and getting them scheduled for a longer period of time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that conversation with them, I think it's got a payback on the back end of it. Really, what I'm looking for, that whole sewer piece, is time.
Well,
And I know
what
that time.
this might simplify it, and again, I'm still trying to gather that part of our infrastructure. What about dyeing our snow? And then where is that color coming from? Is it the manhole covers? Is it underneath something somewhere? I don't know. Throw dye down in the spring and see when that shows up.
I can't think it's a cute idea, but I have no idea. It sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it goes back to identifying where it is, and one of Rick's comments was to contact one of the sanitation districts, and I actually tried to contact them today to try to get the camera that they use. So yeah, Jim and I will continue to talk about this and figure out how we can move forward and getting that camera, and then also coordinating with Southwest Systems to do additional scope.
I mean, they know what they're looking for with the camera, but I'm saying if our problem is spring runoff, like you said, in January, and we're not seeing it till April, the problem, do we need the camera in January?
Well, yeah, I mean, that'll definitely help us during the next runoff, but the work that Southwest Systems does too is pretty thorough too, and in determining if there are breaks in the line or if a manhole needs to be slip line. So
okay,
yeah, that'll definitely help us going forward for next spring. But these guys do a great job of identifying any leaks and cracks and that kind of stuff. So
okay.
Well, the irony of it is, evidently, we're not the only ones suffering that particular problem,
yes,
which
it's
is
huge.
to me. So
Yeah.
whatever we can do to accelerate that process, I think will be very, very helpful for us.
Yep, I agree, 100%.
All right. Thank you very much, Keith.
Thanks, Keith.
Okay, Jim, you got your 5 minutes. Hello, Jim. You still there?
I can do it in two.
You can do it in 2. Is it, I can name that tune in three notes?
2 minutes.
Okay, we took the wing off of our and the plow off our mid-range truck so we could start hauling some ash that was down around our burner to get rid of it for this year. We prepared the water and the leg truck for the summer, and we already started using them. We did have to plow one time. I don't have the date here, but we had to go out and plow. We took the chains off of the grader and the loader so we didn't tear the roads up because it started getting pretty slippery. We unloaded all of the chips off the trucks and the plow trucks to get them ready, and we put them down in the lower yard where we marked down everything that needed to be done on them, and it'll be done over the summertime now. Okay, they prepared the Pine Ridge tank. Keith already covered that one. We did open the Little Bear Creek head gate for the lake, and that's been almost probably close to a month, and we're not getting any water. And the one time somebody had pulled out the dam, that dams it up, that forces it into our lake, so we went back and redid it, and nobody has bothered with it, but it's only about halfway down the ditch, and it doesn't look like there's not that much flow to get to the lake. So what you're seeing out there is probably going to get worse, especially at that east end of the lake. It's just going to keep going down because there is no water, and we may run into a problem with our augmentation water. They may require us to start doing a rolling water shut off, where you can only use it, so say twice a week. It'll depend on whatever the state says, because we're not getting that much augmentation water in our lake, and that's what it's used for. We prepared the vac trailer for the summer. We needed to clean the sewer out up there where the office is going, make sure that sewer line is all intact, and we've been using it quite a bit here lately. We've begun pulling all the ditches and working on the roads. We're getting people, we're putting our signs up and everything, but people are afraid to go down the roads if they see a small windrow. They'll have to get used to it, and just drive over the top of it. My wife is one of them too, that did, when she first got here, people don't know what to do. They just have to drive over it, go around it, and then make a nice pass, nice and slowly, back over on the side that they can drive on. There's no other way of doing it unless we completely shut the road off. And I mean, it would be easier for us to shut down the road, but that means you're going to have certain roads that people aren't even going to be able to detour. Like if we were to do San Moritz, they won't have any way around. They're all trapped. So we have to do it, the way we are. We did have some people stop and kind of have a talk with our driver, our grader operator, but he didn't even think we should be plowing the roads. Our equipment, all of our equipment trucks are up and running. We're short one relay on our back trailer, but it's still operational. We're just waiting for the part to come in. We had no incidents as far as injuries or anything since last year. On the thing about the trash, when you were saying furniture, somebody yesterday or on Saturday threw in a hot water heater and one of those big, huge spools, those wooden spools that they have wire on, like La Plata Electric would use. That was in our dumpster too. So we have no control. People they just do whatever they want, and our dumpsters are getting fuller faster. You're getting more homes up here on the mountain. I think this year is going to show that you're going to have another pull on the dumpsters. We cannot compact it enough. People are throwing big items in there that won't crush down, and there's no control. So I think it's just something that it's going to be inevitable with more people moving in, that we're going to have another pull.
Yeah.
So that's just food for thought.
And
Thank
Jim,
you.
real quick, let me piggyback on that. So Jim was talking about the polls, and that a poll is every time WCA comes and pulls one of our big dumpsters out of there. And so that costs us $450 a pull. And Jim, we're up to 3 pulls per week right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is the cheapest place. You go to Waste Management, they're $650. Believe me, I checked everybody because I wanted to keep the place that we're getting it from honest. And I can't go anyplace else. That's the cheapest place.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jim. Okay, Keith.
Okay, so real quick, property taxes, we're at about 49.8% of the total distribution for this year. And the levied property tax is $661,946. So we're ahead of schedule, definitely compared to where we were last year. So that's a good thing. So water pumping, we're up from February, almost a little over 2 million gallons of water between the 4 wells. So in March, we're at 4.1 million gallons. February was 2.2. And so we're comparable to this time, 2019, where we had 4.6 million gallons. So as far as the budget income to expense report, in all the 3 funds right now, the revenues are definitely exceeding the expenses, where that's exactly where we want to be. And we'll just keep everyone up to speed on a monthly basis as we go forward. And that's that.
Thank you very much. Unfinished business. I'm just going to say something, but I'm going to make sure that we make it into the minutes of this meeting. Is that after our discussions about Unit 3, I would just like to reiterate that in March, the board did vote to support the county in not issuing permits. And secondly, also state that the board has never, to the best of my knowledge, made new votes to stop the county from issuing permits. That is their prerogative. That's their prerogative. I just want to make sure we include that in the minutes here. We can put it back wherever see who does, wherever Jamie feels is appropriate, but I'll make sure we include that. New business, we talked about the community center. We got all that going on. And basically, we're just going to try to put some yellow tape out to prevent people from going in until we decide where to go. So now comes the best part. I really get to talk. I keep done all of it so far. Talk about the resolution. Okay, I have resolutions 2021-06. Of course, I got them in the wrong order. I got 7 on top. Excuse me, what page 2 is. 2021-06 FMD personnel policy update. A resolution amending the personnel policy adopted February 8, 2000 as amended in October 14th of 2003, amended in 2003, 08, 2008, 11, 2000, anyway, and for the Forest Lakes Metropolitan District, Colorado. To go over I'll skip the foregoing legal, the whereases and the therefores. The bottom line basically is that paragraph 3-31 on page 14 of health and dental issues, we are adding a statement that health and dental insurance starts or goes into effect at the end of the employee's completion of their introductory or probationary period. The same statement is added to paragraph 3-32, page 14, under life insurance. that the life insurance starts or goes into effect at the end of the employee's completion of their introductory or probationary period. Flip the page. Then on the retirement benefits, under paragraph 3.33, page 14, the statement is added that payment into PERA starts at the employee's date of hire. A statement that was not included in the prior statement. And then lastly, on paragraph 4.10, page 15, vacation time. The vacation time basically is added upon completion of the introductory or probationary period. So basically what we're doing is clarifying the start and of the benefits.
I move the adoption of resolution 2021-06.
Okay, Carissa. Tony will second the motion. A vote for the motion, Carissa is yes, Tony is yes, and Derek?
Yes.
The motion is unanimously passed, and those modifications will be made to the personnel manual. Resolution 2021-07. The greater lease agreement. Whereas, of course, we are the Forest Lakes Metropolitan District. The board has the authority to do the resolution, blah, 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 blah. Now therefore be it resolved, the board of directors of Forest Lake Metropolitan District. The quarterly lease payment in the amount of $9,654.88 for a total of 8 months equal payments. The grand total lease payments will be $77,239.04 with a guaranteed buyback of $260,000. The 2-year lease agreement shall be in the principal amount of $61,710.74 with interest payments totaling $17,468.04 as set forth in the exhibit, bearing an annual percentage rate of approximately 3.711. Per the agreement, the district shall have $40,000 equity to carry forward with a new agreement when its lease matures in 2023. Quarterly lease payments start in May.
Because it expires, our current lease expires in June.
In June, then the lease payment should not start. Do the lease payment start in May of 2021?
Yes, that's when they're expecting the first payment.
Come to think of it, leases normally start 30 days early.
Mhm.
Okay. Anyway, so the lease payments will end in February 2023. Sorry about that. The district's obligations under the equipment lease shall be annually renewable for the district and expressly subject to annual appropriations by the board. And says obligations under the equipment lease shall not constitute a general obligation of the district or indebtedness within the meaning of the Constitution and the laws of the state of Colorado. All other related contracts and agreements necessary and incidental to the equipment lease are hereby authorized, including the approval of the district's supplemental budget to accommodate the lease if necessary. Just for the record, there is no supplemental budget necessary.
Correct.
The district further recognizes that the term of this equipment lease agreement does not exceed the weighted average useful life of the equipment being leased. The agreement is subject to and contingent upon the execution of the John Deere lease agreement, purchase agreement, and the Holland 2-year repurchase buyback agreement. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon the adoption and its approval. Any questions about the lease?
No, I move the adoption of resolution 2021-07.
I'll second.
Thank you, Derek. For a vote, but Carissa is for it, Derek is for it, and Tony is also for it. So the lease agreement is hereby agreed upon, and I will execute the agreement when deemed appropriate. And being our financial officer is not here, The approval of the disbursement. I move to approve the bills are subject to review at the time of signing in the amount of, I need some more paper, $109,225.25.
Second.
Tony submits it. I think that was Carissa as the second.
Yes.
And Derek, do you approve also?
I approve.
Then it's unanimous for all board members. That, I believe, takes me to number 12. This is really the hard one to do. Do I have a motion on number 12? No?
I
No
don't
motion?
have that ahead of me. I don't have that ahead of me. Oh, are we motioning to adjourn?
Yes,
Boom.
I'll second that.
Motion to adjourn.
Carissa, Derek says yes, and I agree. It's unanimous that we motion to adjourn. I show the time to be 3:27 PM, according to my trustful computer. Folks, thank you very much.
Thank you, Keith and Jamie, for your hard work. And if that's our Barb too, she does a nice job also.
Yep. And Jim.
And Jim, yes, I think he
And
left.
Jen.
You
Hey,
know
we,
that.
we appreciate what this Metro District does for us as a whole. I think we all agree on that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Say hello to the fireman on the tractor.
Yeah.
By the way, is
Love
everybody-
them.
you
He
should
looks
have seen how much-
suspiciously like Santa Claus, though. I don't know. My
Well, we did
9-year-old pointed that out. So
We tried to remove the beard. It was very, very difficult to do. And in the process of doing so, I broke his head off.
Oh,
I had to re-screw that on.
Nice.
I know how to do surgery. So if you
We'll
ever
do that
lose
to
your head, give me a holler.
I
Very
put a
good, guys.
flag on him today, so maybe people will slow down and read the sign.
Yep, good job, Ann.
Hey, Derek, we appreciate your help trying to find some teenagers to give us a hand on the first.
oh, sure. Yeah. Just let me know some fire hydrant kids and I'll track down some more.
Yeah, I just need 3 more, and I think we have enough funds. I can give them $30 for their workday.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you. By the way, Derek, are you still at the high school? I heard you got a principal's job.
Yeah, I'm still here to the end of the year. I start at the primary school next year. I'll be the principal there. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
Going down to primary, does that mean you're being demoted?
you know, I as I put it, those 5, 6, 7-year-olds might understand me more. It's more my intellectual level. So you know, I might be all right. So
Hey, guys, have a good one. Thank you very much for your time.
everybody.
You all too.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.